TIL historians don't know why important warlord Ivar the Boneless was called boneless. Theories range from him losing a leg to impotence beyond, considering several of his tales mention him not having proper legs, and they wouldn't insult the son of Ragnar and a great Viking leader. Actually having a medical condition affecting his legs makes the most sense. He likely was also impotent, but that's not where the name would have come from. He was called that long before his marriage status and fertility would be in question. Source: Ivar and I hang out at Taco Bell. He says sub. One thing's for sure, it is exceedingly unlikely that the legendary Viking warlord was in fact born a cripple and unable to walk, no matter what a certain TV show saw fit to portray. Of all the possible interpretations, that one is the least realistic. Vikings would not follow or revere a cripple, nor would someone unable to stand up ever have become a feared warlord. It's completely ridiculous, and anyone with any sense would see that. I like to imagine it was something pretty stupid and benign that got him one of the coolest names in history. Like he was missing a bone in his pinky finger, or it was just kind of double jointed enough that it was interesting, or he was really good at doing that arm wave dance so it looked like he had no bones in his arms. In case anyone is wondering where the legless bit comes from, leg and bone have similar roots in Germanic languages. The modern German word for leg is Bein. In other Germanic offshoots, the word has yet another meaning: straight, direct, or nice, honest. As opposed to bent, twisted, roundabout. Of all the warlords in the land, it was Ivar who could cut the best fillet. No bones would ever remain, once Ivar was let loose to perform his craft upon the awaiting fish carcass. And so the legend remains, though the man is gone. Boneless, they proclaimed. All his fillets were boneless. I remember seeing a History Channel thing about the history and legends that inspired Vikings, and they said that apparently, the boneless moniker comes from a translation of Old English, in the sense of it meaning cowardly. Essentially, the English called him Ivar the Coward. I've always read that he was physically weak, but had a crazy sharp martial mind. He died relatively soon after conquering the Western Isles, Man, and Dublin, so I always assumed he was in poor physical health but was respected at his time for his intelligence and savviness. Ivar the Soulless. I've heard he was club-footed, but I've also heard he was very double-jointed, which gave him an edge in wrestling. I like to think it was both of those mixed with a great strategic military mind. Lol. Let me get that warlord, letter B in square, O iota NELESS iota. Did the people of that culture use the word for bone as a stand-in for penis? We do here in the US, but I assume it isn't universal, especially considering it isn't a bone. Inspired by this name when my best friend got a vasectomy. I asked him if his Viking name was now Dan the Dickless. He has used this as his username for Valheim ever since. I have this coupon for yoga by Ivar. It says he can make you boneless in 6 weeks, or you'll sack your village and sell your children into slavery. Hey, that's such a shitty thing to be stuck with nickname-wise. Yo, this guy's dick doesn't work, let's just call him Boneless. Poor dude. Maybe he was a very talented wrestler who was exceptional at slipping grabs. I'm sure they had some form of judo jiu-jitsu sparring back then. He was coward and ordered those glorified chicken nuggets when him and his Viking brothers hit up the local Buffalo Wild Wings. While it's completely fictionalized, his portrayal in Vikings is still one of my favorite television characters ever. You have to be a shitty warlord if people are comfortable using a name that references your inability to get a boner. Here I solve it to you. With powers of deduction, the dude at CP walked funny. People called him boneless, to impotence beyond. The Toy Story sequel where Buzz Lightyear enters middle age is really depressing. After a bountiful pillage haul, he would partake in a boneless barbecue buffalo wings feast. It was quite known. Being one of the most powerful warlords of your time, and your handle was Soft Dick Steve. All I know is I hate that motherfucker. I perhaps have some PTSD from Assassin's Creed Valhalla. The solution is obvious as always. My dear Watson, Ivar the Boneless was a swashbuckling octopus. I've seen theories suggesting some sort of brittle bone disease or a similar congenital ailment. It's actually a mistranslation. It's supposed to be Ivar the Boneless. The man had, like, no ass. This is gonna be one hell of a bowel movement. He'll be lucky if he has any bones left. Was watching a Garen Thumb video yesterday, and Charles mentioned this, I swear. TF. Say what you will, but we know one thing for sure: the dude didn't die of bonitis. I heard it was literal and he was just a sack of meat they carted around. Have they watched the show? It's pretty clear if you just watch the show. Maybe he just wanted to listen to Boney M and couldn't find a CD player. Bone and Ivers are superior. Boneless are basically just Ivar nuggets. Flex his double jointed elbow. My god, will you be our war chief? Maybe he would likely only once remove the bones from his enemy. The fact that he reportedly had children lays my theory to rest. I bet it was he couldn't get a hard on. Typical Viking banter. He was a cripple. I've seen it in documentary about Vikings. I thought we all agreed that the penis doesn't have a bone? Surely it was because that's how he preferred his chicken. Maybe it's because of how he liked his. Real reason dude did a sick 180 boneless off a 5 stare. I think he just watched the same YouTube video as me.